Hello, ArchieLuxury fuckers. Okay, here we go. We're talking personal finances and getting ahead in life. And we're off just before we do this video here. The viewers, we're starting viewer emails, yes, so they can send in questions. So they can send in questions to us, and at the early stage, we'll be answering them for free. We'll be answering these questions together for free.
Yeah.
Viewer emails, personal finance, personal type advice, career, anything, relationship difficulties, throw it in and we'll answer it. So send them in. Okay, dealing with a partner wife. My partner wife is spending too much. How do I tell her to stop? This is a very tricky thing because these you've had your own problems yourself with women spending money.
Broken up my marriage.
Broken up your marriage. You see a lot of it. You know, a lot of people, it's always fun to spend money. It's not so fun to save money, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's always, marriage is like this, you know. If you've got a lot of money and you're going on a trip, oh honey, should we go to France or should we go to Hong Kong for Easter? That's going to get a better response than, hey, you're spending too much on your, well, what the fuck did you buy on your bank card? That's going to get a different response, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the question is, unfortunately, you need to have some fiscal restraint. How do you tell these women to slow down? What do you say to them? A lot of people have trouble saying no, don't they? They don't want to admit there's limits.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I think with a wife, you got to realise if you buy the wife a $40,000 car,
yeah,
she's good to you for 2 weeks.
Sure.
And then it's gone. If you buy a bunch of flowers,
yeah,
she's also good for you for 2 weeks, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So don't spend $40,000 on her. Spend $20, and she's just as happy. You love her. You show her that. But going back to the basic question, I think it's important, first of all, to talk to her. Sit her down.
So the question is, these bitches, you would think giving her a $40,000 car, right? That is the equivalent. That's the equivalent of, you know, I've just worked that out there. $40,000.
So divide by 50 for flowers.
Well, 20. We could get it wholesale at the market.
Oh yes, market.
2,000 bunches of flowers.
Wow, you can get a lot of goodies for 2,000 bunches of flowers, and for a car you only get one lot of goodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think but we're going further. Is you got to talk to her. Say, listen, we've got a problem here. We're spending too much.
Sure.
And if she's a spendthrift, be careful with the credit card. Don't give her your card with a 40,000 limit, which she can use. Make your card only available for you.
Sure.
And give her a separate one with 2,000 limit.
I see.
So she can spend 2,000, but she certainly can't churn up 40,000.
I see.
And
have you seen women do this or not?
Well,
yeah,
I have.
In your practice,
I have. I've seen that happen. Yeah, yeah.
And what does that do then?
Well, you got to do it tactfully. You say to the wife, look, we want to keep these things separately, so we'll get you a credit card or yours. So she has one for a few thousand, and you have one for 40,000 perhaps.
Sure.
You don't use your 40,000; it's part of your reserve.
Sure, I see what you're saying.
It's not there to churn up and put 40,000 and spend it all and then pay 20% interest. It's there to have as reserve, but it's good to have a 40,000 reserve rather than a $2,000 reserve. And so the first step is then, if you've got a large limit, only make it available for you and give her a separate card with a smaller limit. And that's one thing that can take the strain off. 2, you say, all right, well, after you've talked to her, in the process of talking to her, you say, listen, you need to get a job. Or you might need to work extra hours at your existing job. You know, don't work 3 days a week. You need to work 5 days a week. You want to spend? Well, you need to work.
I see.
if the wife is sitting at home doing nothing,
Sure.
well, if she wants to spend, she has to, do that. Now, I had a client that came in, and he said he had a very high paid job. He was never home, of course. He was getting, say, 200,000 a year.
Sure.
And he said, well, next week I'm going to resign, and I'm going to take 80,000. I
Yes.
said, that's a big cut, 200,000 to 80,000. He says, yes, my wife's always complaining at the fact that I'm never home, and it's not very good. I said to him, take her
Yeah.
somewhere away from home or whatever. Just sit on the beach somewhere where there's no pressure, and talk to her and say this: look, darling, I'm earning 200,000 a year. I'm never home. Now, shortly I'll be earning 80,000. I'll be home with you all the time. Now, what we have to decide now,
80,000 is still good money.
it's not as good as 200,000, but is it? So he said to her, I told him to say to her, and he did say to her, look, darling, we have to now spend less. So let's work out where we're going to spend less. This that you do, this. We might only have one car instead of two cars.
Sure.
We won't have an expensive holiday to Paris this year. We'll just go to Dicky Beach in a tent.
Sure. Nothing wrong with Dicky Beach.
Yeah, nothing wrong with Dicky Beach. We grew up at Dicky Beach. And she thought about it, and you know what her answer was?
What's that?
Keep working.
What nationality was she?
Oh, Australian, Aussie.
Aussie. And he was?
Aussie too.
Executive. What sort of job did he have?
Well, he was in electrical management, electrical company, electrical maintenance.
Fuck.
So,
she said keep working.
She said keep working because she didn't want to. She wanted him more at home more. She was always complaining about that. But when she saw that by him being at home more, which was resign from that job, get another job to please, he wanted to do that to please her. If he did that, well, now there'd be less money.
Yes.
Now, having less money, she'd have to pay the price of that.
I see.
Be able to not work, just sit up there and enjoy life with tea and coffee with friends and things like that. She wouldn't be able to do that anymore. So
Sure.
when she realised that, she thought, well, no, you keep working.
And what did he do then?
Well, he kept on working, and she stopped complaining, I suppose. And eventually, what would happen, of course, she'll say, "Oh, you're never home," and she'll find somebody else.
I see.
That's what that happens also in a lot of cases, doesn't it?
So tell me this then. You've had some bit of a painful experience yourself there with spending get out of hand.
Yeah, well,
haven't you?
Yeah, well.
And is there ever a good moment you could tell these women this or not?
Well, they don't want to listen often, and see what happens. You got to tell your partner that, especially in the early stages. Look, let's have pain now. Let's conserve. Be frugal now, and later on we can. In 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, when the kids are a little bit older, we'll go on a world trip on the QE2, or we'll buy you a BMW or something like that. Because the women always are very interested in children. They want to look after their children. So if you say to them, look, if you spend now, we won't be able to send them to the good school. We will have to send them to a government school as opposed to an expensive private school. When they go to university, we won't be able to buy them a second-hand car where they can drive to university. They'll have to catch the bus. We can't help the children as much as we'd like to. We can't help them with a car because we spent all our money.
So I mean the thing is there, it's
So you told the children on the house deposit, we can't help the kids with a house deposit because you're spending too much. So if you told him, look, by you spending less now, we can save that money, and later on you'll be able to help the kids, these darling little things that you admire so much.
Is the wife responsible for a lot of problems in people's financial mess? Is it the wife to blame in a lot of people who are not happy financially?
I think in a lot of cases the wife is to blame because she wants unrealistic things, but maybe she doesn't realise that those things are unrealistic. I think as a male, you have to learn to say no.
Sure. And what's the best way to say that to them?
N-O, no. Otherwise, in your terminology, you're fucked.
You're fucked.
You've got to say no, and all right, if you say no and it gets too hard, well, you probably have a broken marriage, and that's the price you've got to consider. Is it worth doing that? Or do you just say, well, I love you dearly, I want to be with you, and what the hell? We're not going to have anything anyway. So
you actually ended your marriage because of a partner who was spending too much. That was a main part of
it's very complex, but she
wouldn't rein her spending in, would
she wouldn't rein her spending in, and then started giving large amounts of money to her side of the family with nothing going to my side of the family, and yet all the money had come from my side of the family. The bulk of that money came from my side of the family. So, but this is a problem with wives and that, and everybody decides differently, and some person might just say, well, I don't want to break up this relationship. I love my wife, or I want to be with her. She's a good companion. She cooks and she does things that I like her to do, and therefore I don't care. And of course, then she spends, and you just have a average house instead of a better house. You have a average holiday instead of a better holiday, or whatever. You can't, if she overspends on foolish things, overspends on many little things, you can't have the big things.
Sure.
And it's just a question of what priorities are important to you.
Sure. So you just have to practice saying no to her.
Yeah. It's I think I mentioned to you, solicitor friend of mine.
There's a trust fund.
He was felt this way, and he felt he had to do what his wife wanted, and he started stealing from the trust fund because he couldn't earn enough. And of course, stealing from the trust fund
and
is
she didn't
offense.
have a job, mind you, did she?
Oh, well, no, of course not. I mean, I'm not saying that. I don't say that facetiously. Some women
you can
work, and some women think it's more important to stay home, look after the kids. In today's society, it's hard to live with a wife staying at home and looking after the kids.
It is very hard, but it's a very. It's just
in the old days, the expectations were lower.
Yes.
And most women did stay home, and in fact, in this country, a woman, when she was married, couldn't even get a job.
Yes.
And when you were working in a job, you had to resign because you were married, or later on, years later, when you were pregnant, you had to resign. The Commonwealth Bank, the public service.
Yeah, that's right.
You had to resign.
That's right.
It's only now that you have maternity leave and you come back, and you have a second child and you come back, and you can in the old days it was very hard. And in fact, in the bank, if you were a woman, you couldn't even rise to a senior position. You were consigned to senior typist.
Sure.
Whilst a man could be general manager.
Sure.
And I had a case where a lady working with me, her brother was the chief manager of the Commonwealth Development Bank in Australia.
Yeah.
And yet she, for a long period of her life, was resigned to senior typist.
Sure.
When it changed, she moved ahead, but she could never catch up with her brother, who'd gone ahead in leaps and bounds.
Well, there's more to life than that. The bank are a bunch of cunts, particularly the Commonwealth Bank.
The Commonwealth Bank's a very good bank. What are you talking about?
A bunch of cunts.
They're a nice.
They're a bunch of fucking cunts, and I saw
Why
them.
Do you say that?
I saw
Did
them
you have
on,
a problem? Did they
no, I'm just
decline
saying,
your loan? Well,
I'm saying
no wonder they declined your loan with that type of balance sheet you've got.
I saw them on Four Corners.
What are they doing on Four Corners?
The common insurer didn't seem to pay out terribly well.
Well, certainly.
And then these people pretend that they want to do a home loan check, home loan health check.
Yeah.
You can go to fucking Dr. Kevorkian to get a health check.
Well, they did the wrong thing. They were caught out. They paid the price eventually, and they tried to make amends under pressure from government and the consumers.
Another call for you. Okay, thank you.